Data suggests COVID has accelerated the decline in mental health, especially among young Canadians. So here to guide us through some techniques to help your teens and young adults cope is family therapist Tania DaSilva. Welcome back to your morning.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Tell us, first of all, what are you starting to see in teens and young adults?
We're definitely seeing the isolation and the loneliness fueling depression. A lot of our kids, they have troubled relationships, so at home, which is impacting the way they're feeling as well. And we're seeing that with the increase of domestic abuse. We're also noticing that anxiety is turning into depression and that they're turning to negative coping strategies, looking to food and drugs and alcohol. And we're seeing that with the increase in eating disorders and addictions and overdose as well.
You have a technique that you use with some of your patients. It's called the accept method. And we're going to go through it in a moment. But first of all, what is it? How does it work?
So basically, it simplifies coping strategies, and it's a strategy that we use when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to depression, any mood disorder, and it really just gives our clients something to follow in terms of strategies that actually strategies that actually work, and a framework that they can follow. The way that we see it is simplifying it for them is actually going to help them be successful in using these strategies.
Yeah, I love it. So let's break it down this morning. We're going to start with the letter A in accepts.
So accept it essentially does start with A, and it looks at activities. So we want to think about what activities can we do that are enjoyable or that they're actually doable. And what we mean by that is waking up and getting dressed if that's something that makes you feel good, or tackling a small task that's going to make you feel like you're accomplished or productive throughout the day. And that naturally boosts our mood because we're feeling good, or we're feeling like we tackled something in a day that might not have a lot going on.
The next letter is C, and that is for contribute, and that's helping others. But then the next C is one that is really important for young people. And this has to do with social media, and that is comparisons.
This is one we're seeing a lot of, where people are constantly comparing to, who's doing well, who's doing better. So we use that as a marker where be aware of when you are making comparisons and then turn into a practice of gratitude and looking at what's going right. So thinking about, actually I do have this, or this is working for me. It makes us feel a sense of control versus a lack of control. And it also starts helping us build that habit of gratitude. So anytime we're noticing a comparison, we're going to turn into gratitude, which is a habit that we do want to build.
Is this something you get them to do out loud and on a daily basis?
You know what? It really depends on the person. So I find it depends on their comfort level. For some of them, they love doing it out loud. They like hearing it. A lot of people struggle with gratitude and saying things out loud for themselves. So sometimes I find I'm prompting them, and then eventually they're coming back and they're like, you know what? Actually, that did pop into my head when I was struggling with comparison. So it really depends.
The next letter is E, and this one is all about emotions, and that's doing things to bring about positive feelings. And after that, we have another technique, and that is writing it down and pushing it away. That's the letter P. What does that do? Why is that important?
So we've noticed that this works really well, again, for anxiety, but especially for depression, where it gets them to actually externalize what they're feeling and put it on paper. And sometimes when we're looking at it, we realize how harsh or unrealistic it actually is. But it also gives them the ability to think about, you know what, I have this written down. I'm going to come back to this later on and sit in the feeling and observe it and problem solve. But for right now, I don't need to focus on it because I've already externalized it. So it really helps us kind of separate those negative feelings and be present when we need to, but also make time to process them.
In this time of lockdown especially, we are all spending a lot more time with ourselves. Thoughts is a big part of changing our mindset. What can we do there?
Thoughts is huge, and we always focus on that no matter what we're doing with kids or young adults. So our thoughts end up impacting our visuals and our expectations, which end up impacting our mood and our behaviors. So we really get clients to focus on what are you thinking and what expectation is that bringing up for you, and how can we change that into something that is more positive, or at least something that's more realistic. And the awareness is exactly what we want. We want them to notice how negative they're actually being in their thoughts and in their feelings.
Finally, we've got the S in accepts, and that stands for sensation. This is curious for me. You're suggesting switching gears. What do you mean by that?
And this is always one that kind of throws people off where they're like, what do you mean? But we feel really intense emotions in our body, and we store them in our body when we are feeling something like depression. So being able to change the way our body's feeling by something, like intense exercise or deep breathing, or even taking a cold shower or drinking a cold glass of water, it's going to shock our system, and it's going to change the way we're feeling internally, which is also going to change that mood. So anytime we're feeling really low, this is always what I encourage. I'm like, get up, take a cold shower, open that window, take a deep breath of air so that it can change the way we're feeling internally.
Tania, these are all really great steps, and we will have this for people on our social media. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.